While praying recently, the Spirit of God ministered to me to study the book of Esther. I've always read about Esther anyway, but it ministered differently this time, and I thought to share with you. So, through between yesterday and today, I read the book of Esther from chapter 1 to the last verse, and something struck differently while studying that verse. We know the story of Esther, an orphan who was raised by his uncle. And then God's plans, God being God, if mean a queen. Okay. And again, it taught me so many things. It ministered in a different way to me. And I had to summarize and then I thought to just share it with someone, today. The story of Esther teaches us that difficulty doesn't mean God's absence. For the fact that we face difficult times, for the fact that we are confronted with situations that we think we are not even ready for, or maybe we think we didn't plan for those situations or circumstances, that feels like it's suffocating, regardless of where. Might be within your family, it might be within the business sector, business life, it might be within your workplace, it might be within among your friends, maybe even in your marriage. It depends, whatever the situation is. For the fact that you are going through those difficulties doesn't mean that God is not actually present in your life. While I was contemplating that, while I was thinking that night, and I was just having a discussion with my husband, like, some people just at one point or the other, they just keep fighting, going through tough times, and then something ministers to me in saying, difficult times or tough times doesn't last, but tough people though. For the fact you're going through those difficulties doesn't mean that God is absent in your life. I jotted down some things, yeah. It is often a stage upon which God reveals his purpose. Those difficult times that you're facing is a stage for God to reveal his purpose. You might be at a level today, comfortable, and you think everything is fine. I'm fine here. Before you know it, you are going through challenges that you didn't even plan for, that you didn't even see coming, and you begin to wonder, what have I done wrong? What have I done differently? You might even be on the path of truth. You might even be that you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't sinned against God. You have not, done anything differently. But that situation at that point has just surfaced. And you are asking yourself, why me? Why do I need to keep going through such times? I've come to make you understand that at the point you are able to overcome those challenges, it propels you into a different level. Okay, it takes you into another level, spiritually, physically, or otherwise. Okay, so again, look at Esther's case. Esther did not choose the crisis he went through. But when the crisis came, she discovered that God had positioned her where she found herself. Do we choose our battles? No. As a child of God, you are not able to choose your battles. Those battles just comes, and you is expected that you are able to face it. You are able to go through the battles trusting God, with God taking your hands, and then victory eventually emerges. Esther did not choose those crises. He didn't choose those battles. But when God positioned her to be chosen by the king as his queen, I'm sure he didn't know, she didn't know that that was for a purpose. The king could have chosen somebody else. Why Esther? The Jew. But God made the king to choose Esther so that Esther could save the people of the Jews, okay, and Mordecai from the hands of Haman. Okay, so the situation you're going through at the moment, the position you found yourself, is not by coincidence. It's God ordained plans. God has put you where you are to go through those tough times, that you'll be experienced enough to save his people, that the Lord can use you then as a vessel to reach out to his people. Sometimes you cannot understand or relate with a shoe that you have not worn. If you have gone through abuse, you will know how it takes. You know what it takes to be able to save someone or advise someone going through the abuse. If you have gone through victimization, you will be able to relate with someone being victimized. Okay, sometimes it's difficult for you to be able to relate to a situation you have not actually gone through. So when God takes you through a situation, most especially when you know that you are a child of God and you are a vessel of God and you stand for the truth and you do the right thing, when God takes you through such situation or crisis, God is actually taking you through those crises or those situations for a reason. Okay, for you to be able to be positioned, to be refined. Okay, after coming out of that tough situation, to be refined enough to be able to save God's people, to be refined enough to be able to save people who are going to be going through that path that you have just gone through. Esther did not choose the crisis, but when the crisis came, she discovered that the position was not accidental. I wrote here, God had placed her where she was for such a time as this. God has placed you where you are. That difficult marriage, the Lord has placed you there for such a time as this. That difficult situation you have found yourself in your place of work, God has placed you there for such a time as this. That difficult situation you have found yourself, among your family, in life, in that school, in that office, wherever you found yourself, God has placed you there for such a time as this. I wrote here, there are seasons when God's people feel surrounded. You feel surrounded by fear, injustice, uncertainty, or opposition. In such moments, the temptation is to protect ourselves by remaining silent. But Esther's case reminds us that silence when God is calling us to speak can cost us more than courage ever will.